Okay. This is what the podcast is, Frank, is us.
For the first 20 minutes, we just fiddle around with these.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Okay, let me be sure my alarms are off. And they're still going to go off. No matter what I do, an alarm is going to go off. Mm-hmm. Okay, our guest today is a dude. He's a dad. He's humble to a fault, so he's going to really not like this intro segment. And Joy was dropping off her kid. We were supposed to be like 24 minutes into this by now, so part of his intro is that he's a fantastic conversationalist, so he could have carried this while Joy was dropping off Penny.
But not needed anymore. We don't need your conversationalism.
Now that y'all are here, I'm just going to sit here and watch this stuff unfold.
He was born in Houston, and I was going to say that once my dad had to go to the hospital. He let us stay in his childhood home, and I have a whole album of the wallpapers in the house where he grew up, which is not really about him. It's more about his mom, but that's true.
Oh, that's a big chunk of me, for better or worse.
Let's see. Oh, yeah, I meant to start here. Houston born with a storied history in Nashville. He cut his teeth song plugging and built a name in A&R, championing people like little artists that you've not heard of, Mark Chestnut, Ann Womack, and a lot of other badasses. And in 99, he started Carnival Music Publishing, collected a roster of legends, and he's much lauded as a producer, having worked with also really small artists that are like, you may never heard of, like Miranda Lambert, Ann Womack, Chris Knight, David Nail, and many impressive world-class others it would take the whole time to list. The whole time we have, yeah. He also produced the acclaimed Not Fade Away, Remembering Buddy Holly, and Restoration, a salute to the songs of Bernie Taupin and Elton John. I think he's disassociated right now. I'm looking at his face.
He's fact-checking in his head, making sure that...
He's in some white-walled room right now where we aren't. He's currently finishing 3 projects with Eric I'm so excited about, with Ian No, Johnny Daly, and Parker McCollum. I spent like 36 hours on a road trip with Eric, and my dad once. His daughter, Annalise, is one of my favorite people, and so is he. Welcome to Momcult, Frank Liddell.
Thank you for having me.
Has anybody ever done that? I mean, like, I guess if you get an award, people make you sit and listen to, like, some things about... Have you had to do that before? Just sit and listen to people say something nice about you, like 3 feet away from you looking at you?
I've never really enjoyed it, and I don't like writing it. I don't like... it's interesting how in our business they always want a bio, and then you always got to update it, and that's the worst part, And sometimes I just want to try to boil it down to about 5 words because it's all BS, I mean, it's not, but it is, and it's sort of like, if you've been here as long as I have and you hadn't had one hit, well, you got to be like pretty brilliant to pull that off. But it's just it's what we do, so it'd be a lot easier to brag about myself if I was back home with a bunch of people that didn't do what we do. But, hearing all that stuff about me, you could just kind of interchange my name and a bunch of other artists' name for your next guest.
We'll steal this intro for somebody else down the line.
Yeah, just insert names here.
How's your week, Joy?
My week's been pretty fine, I guess.
What day is it?
What day is it?
Tuesday.
This is like the first year in a long time I feel like that I'm not stressed leading up to Christmas. Like I feel like both Jeremy and I we've like done some festive things, or just as far as getting some of the holiday things on and off the calendar.
Well, there's still time for the stress to kick in.
There sure is. But normally I feel it like, normally I'm not, it's hard to look forward to Christmas because of all the things that need to get done beforehand. Yeah. And I don't feel like that this year. So
congratulations.
I'll take it. Thank you.
Wow.
Yeah.
Big things.
Yeah.
I'll write down all my secrets. The secret sauce. Money.
Oh,
more money.
Joy just came on full time at Camel. I don't know if you know that. She does our social media
awesome.
and content creation and a whole bunch of other stuff that's like not in her job description.
So now that you feel like she's not all pressured right now, you're going to throw a bunch of more stuff at her.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, good. Yeah, no, I do.
Right.
Yeah, we're going to meet about that after this.
Directly.
Great. We just threw a company. Nobody asked me, but
yeah, how's your week?
We're going to do you last. We just threw a company holiday party at Camel, and we're doing a Christmas tunnel like experience.
Display,
yeah, that at our Mount Juliet location of Camel. And it felt really cool until people started putting up their holiday decorations, and I remembered how dead serious people's stuff and I drove by like a real drive-through light experience. But it's pretty cool, and it'll grow. Yeah. Anyway, so I am...
It's our first year.
Yeah. So I have like that
I
weird...
I love the Halloween one in Hendersonville.
Yes, that one was impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And we did like from year 1 to year 2 make some significant growth. And we're like investing in more like lights. Like every year we're going to have more stuff to put up.
It's going to be cool.
About the time I got out of college, I was in Amarillo. And I had no idea what was going to happen with my life. and I noticed that every truck in Amarillo was covered in dirt. And I didn't look too far into it. There was not an internet, but I thought, I'm going to move to Amarillo and open a giant car wash, because they had those. I was from Houston, and they had these really sophisticated car washes for the time, you know. And, of course, in Amarillo, all they had was some hoses. And I thought that'd be a good idea, is to open up a car wash in every West Texas town. Now, more than likely, you know, my friends that live there don't ever want to wash their car anyway, so who knows? But
they just stay
It
dusty.
all comes back to the car wash.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Because my family was in cattle, I know that. I believe, and actually, they pressure wash those things. One of my dad's friends, this is sad. I'm so my mom, speaking of. In this way, anyway, where it's like an isn't that something story. But his friend, we're gonna cut this probably. But his friend gave his friend gave his kid a wetsuit for his 18th birthday, so he could pressure wash out his truck like better, more frequently.
I thought it was going to be way darker.
Oh.
That seemed pretty chill.
It sounded, I don't know how my dad, anyway, whatever. There's probably more to the story that was even sadder than that. But in my heart, I was like, oh, yeah, this is such a sad situation. Yeah. So anyway, what the point was, what was the point?
Your week.
Christmas stress.
Summer.
So I feel a lot less stressed about my actual life, like my personal life, because I'm like, well, I've been thinking about this stuff and collecting Christmas stuff for...
Getting out of the way.
Since May.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm good. How's your week, Frank?
Well, so far so good. But to y'all's point earlier, I got up this morning and wasn't sure if it was Tuesday or Wednesday, although my week has not been very hectic so far. So I understand, you know, that y'all with younger kids probably never know. That's the first question you ask. So do you know what day it is? And my guess is that y'all have to be reminded all day long what day it is. So.
Speaking of, how old were you when you became a dad?
I was 35.
Okay. Did you feel about the right age? Did you feel older than you thought?
I felt like I probably need about 10 more years to get ready. Speaking of which, my brother is 54, and he's got a 6-month-old and a 2-year-old. And that's it. So
does that feel like, have you talked to him about that? Does that feel like the appropriate age to start having kids?
Well, he lives a lot clean life, and he's in really good shape, and he's a really positive person. He's a school teacher. I mean, he teaches. So it's probably, I mean, he seems very, very normal and natural with it, much more than I would have been. So.
Cool.
That's awesome.
I met you, my sister says, when I was coloring under her desk, but I think I was like, I don't think I was 12, but I don't know. Anyway, I was...
Are you serious?
She was at MCA, and I was under her desk like for the summer, and I would hang out under there. Actually, like stuffing promo packets with people that you worked with, and you were at Decca doing A&R then.
Yeah.
Is that, and you worked with Leanne, is that where you met Leanne? And for our listeners, Leanne Womack is your wife.
Yes, that's where we met.
Cool. Yeah.
And the rest is history.
Yeah.
It was love at first sight for me. You'll probably have to get her on the show and ask her the same questions to get
the real answers.
Yeah, the stereo version of it, or the other side. But that's where we met. I was her A&R person, which meant that I was in charge of looking for songs for her records.
Gotcha.
So.
And she had Aubrey.
Yes.
her daughter already?
And Aubrey was always hanging around the office and drawing pictures and
Cute.
very, very shy. Very shy.
How old was she then? Do you
Aubrey?
approximately?
Let's see. Time flies so fast. So I think she was 7, 8, right around there.
Yeah.
Did you feel awkward in that role before you guys had a kid together? Like
Yeah, you mean
becoming
being a step-parent?
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
I will say that if that being a stepdad is the hardest thing I've ever had to do. And it's the area of parenting where I have the most regrets. And it's not hard. I mean, I would do everything completely different if I had to do it over again. There's a lot of resilience when your kid is your birth kid, and there's a lot of when you have a stepchild. First of all, I wanted to be respectful of her father, and I think we've always have been, that I'm not her dad and I don't want to take his place, but also I loved her, and it's hard, it's scarier to make mistakes. So when you have a birth kid, it's resilient. I noticed my dad didn't really care what my feelings were that much, and it always bothered me. But in retrospect, having been gone for a while, I completely understand. He just wanted me to be okay. You
Without
have that
him.
resilience that when I was walking on a lot of eggshells with being a step parent, and I think that led to probably me being a worse stepfather than had I. I mean, it was just all out of fear and kind of respect. I mean, my motives, I don't think, were in a bad place, but sometimes it just didn't play out as well as I
Yeah, just trying to figure out where your space is,
Yes.
where the line is that you're not
Yes.
supposed to cross, and constantly worried. Will this make me cross
Yeah.
line or break a boundary? Yeah, that's
But
hard.
And to sum up this entire conversation, no, I'm joking. I was
Get me out of
Yeah,
here.
we got 3 minutes
no,
left.
I was joking. What I was getting at is, if you look today, and so it's been 25 plus 20 years, and we all hang out together, and I always thought that every family was more or less dysfunctional than mine, even when I was growing up, or mine now. But we're all really close, and we still are, and we travel together, and we hang out together, and I see, Aubrey doesn't live with us, but I see her. I think she hangs out with Anna all the time, and that's really. If the one thing I always wanted in my life out of both of our kids was for them to have a relationship that was, that existed without her parents, and that would exist when we're gone, because that's all they really have. So that makes me happy, but it's also, through all the good and the bad and the thick and thin, the fact that as a family we still are pretty close. I think we're very close. Then something went well.
Yeah.
Probably Leanne.
What's their age difference? The girls.
They are. Aubrey is almost 34, and Anna is almost 26. So my math says it's 8 years.
8 years.
I may need a piece of paper.
Yeah, I don't know. I need a calculator.
We're not. Yeah,
Did
we're not
you,
big people for that.
Did you always want kids?
Yeah, but I never thought about it, I mean, I just was a free spirit. Excuse me. Okay, I was just a free spirit. I didn't really think about anything domestic ever. So, but looking back at it, I mean, I wanted kids, and I love kids. My dad didn't have kids till he was 36, and my brother, as I said, didn't have kids till he's in his 50s, and my sister never had a kid. So there's something in us hardwired to live a good chunk of our life single. I don't know what it is, but
What was it like having your own kid? What was that experience like?
well, I came from a really emotionally dynamic family, and there was. I've always said this: So, right when Anna was born, I had to change her first diaper, which was, it was in retrospect, doesn't seem like that big a deal, or when you're in the middle of it. But when it's happened, I was like, uh-oh. And the first thing that came through my mind is that I thought, for the first 35 years of my life, I thought my parents owed me an apology. And then in the middle of that, I was sitting there going, perhaps I owe them an apology.
Wait a minute.
So that was it first. The standards I held my parents to, and all of their insanity. And they're beautiful, wonderful people, both of them, my mom and dad collectively and separately. But they were intense and out there. What I never gave them credit for is waking me up every day, educating me,
feeding you,
feeding me every day. Every 3 meals a day, picking me up at school. My mom was just a lunatic in a good way, but I never was late to school. Never missed school, never missed a meal. Nobody picked me up late. I never was standing around waiting for somebody to pick me up. So just the little things that you hold your parents to when you're growing up. Like, golly, man, my mom put the mashed potatoes on the plate.
Why can't you just do this or this or this?
How hard can it be?
Right.
And then all of a sudden it's like,
took one diaper.
And sometimes I feel like you have to have kids to really reconcile things with your parents and to learn to love them and to learn what was great about them. But mainly, this obviously what I've been saying is not about my kids and more about me and my parents. I'm just hoping that my kids can, when I'm gone, can say, well, in spite of everything, he meant well.
Right. I have a totally, even between first and second kid, after Penny, my appreciation and even just relationship with my mom got stronger. Like I thought kind of one kid would be like a one that happens one time with your first kid, but it felt like it went up even exponentially more after my second because you're just juggling, someone's got to be looking after the other one while you're taking care of the baby, or just those days where you are in your living room for what feels like days, weeks at a time. And whether it's just us FaceTiming in the morning or, I don't know. She just made me feel like I wasn't going through those pockets of time by myself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I do have to say that I was very lucky that, Leanne is just kind of hardwired to put her head down and complete a task, and I'm all over the map. And she had already had Aubrey. So everything when we had Anna was very normal for her. Mm-hmm. And I remember coming back to the hospital. She's born January 3rd. So I remember coming home a few days later, and she got Anna and put her in her little car seat part of this, and she put all these blankets on her. She was dressing up. And I said, where are you going? What are you doing? She said, and it was like 10 degrees outside. And she said, we got to go get something to eat. And I was like, you can't bring her outside. So I had a lot, that was really helpful to have people around me that could make better sense of it than me.
Did that create a lot of tension between you guys in the beginning of her being experienced and you feeling unexperienced?
I would venture to say that just about everything I did created a lot of tension.
A lot of conflict.
If the theme of this is looking at things in retrospect, I think I've already used that twice. I thought I was more helpful when it was going down than it probably was. So, and guys get away with a hell of a lot more than, all you got to do to be a guy is just come home and kind of be your dad and hang out and be cool or whatever. And moms have to have everything just buttoned up and sewed up perfectly or they fail. The guys just come home and go, hey, throw your kid around for a second, throw in the bathtub and all that,
Thanks. Thank you for saying that. Yeah. It's a joke. But I feel like, and I think this, you might have been your you might have been one of the first groups of dads who is more plugged in emotionally, does more, is more involved. Like, I think that things have moved in that direction. And I mean, that's what I'm experiencing with Eric for sure, is like, and honestly, I've learned a lot more about how controlling I am since we had a kid. And he is really pushed to be like way more involved than, it's just not, my dad was involved, but it's not what I saw. The stuff that he wants to do, the nuts and bolts, he wants to be involved in like the minutia and stuff. And I'm curious, like whenever Anna was growing up and Aubrey, y'all both traveled a lot. Was that, I think she was homeschooled, and did y'all have, like, what was that like? I know it's a big question, really,
well, it's funny that Leanne being a touring artist and Aubrey's father's an artist, and I was in the studio a lot, so it wasn't normal, but again, my father, who, by the way, talking about like your father and all that, and they're a product of their generation, man. My dad, I remember coming home and complaining about I was disciplined at school about something that I didn't do when I was about 7. And I told my dad, because it was a great injustice, and he looked at me and he said, son, I don't know what it is you did, but whatever it is, I guarantee you won't be doing it again. So there was this little bit of that generation that if I got kicked around a little bit by some teachers and some unfairness at school, he felt like he was getting his money's worth, so
preparation.
Yeah. So exactly. So it's not, but I was a little bit more, involved. Leanne was gone on the road a lot, so I took the kids to school. And if I had a regret, and I don't even know that this is, I have a hard time living in the present, in the moment, and I wished, I was there for so much for both of our kids, but really a lot for Anna, just about everything she ever did, but I never felt like I was there.
Right.
And we're very close, and I think that's probably a me problem, not her. It has nothing to do with, it's just how sometimes guys are hardwired. Sometimes I don't know, like I feel like guys have to, maybe just the way I was raised, it's a little bit unnatural. We have to take a step back and realize, when am I going to be able to do this over again? I'm not. So I constantly, more so now than ever, try to tell myself to live in the present. Mm-hmm. And that's the one regret I have. I wish I was there for everything, but I didn't always
going through the motions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
as moms, we feel that all the time. Even in the moment going, I feel guilty. I'm not as in the moment as I should be right now. It's just kind of
and that's a pretty in the moment statement too.
Yeah.
Like, and if you're doing the drop-offs at school and stuff, and like those nuts and bolts things, I feel like, or the admin, we call it.
Yeah.
Those are the things for me anyway, as like a really ADD person, that take me out of the moment. That Parker this morning, I was getting him out the door, and that's one of my like toughest moments. And I hear that a lot, is like a rushing or getting him out the door. Okay, let's go. That kind of thing. And he's like, you're always being mean. And I'm like, fuck. You are always mean. And I'm like, yeah, okay. Yeah, and then I started to go into for about 10 seconds. Well, moms, and then I was like, you know what? No.
Yeah.
You're right.
I have to check myself. Yeah, I did. You're right.
You're right.
Is that really how you feel?
Car.
Okay, I'm really gonna work on it. I need to calm my body down. You're right. And yeah. Anyway, my point is, you did a great job.
Well, okay, so.
Hey, Sarah.
Hey, Joy.
Do you have trouble meal planning? Is that a struggle for you?
What?
What's that?
Huh? I do have this. Yeah, no. Yes, I do have that. I have that issue.
Me too. Especially there's like always a one night where we do Blue Apron, but there's always a couple nights a week where we don't have a meal planned. And it's usually a night where we're all trying to eat something together that is affordable and good quality food. And what's a really great solution for that we have for all of you listeners out there?
What?
is Mr. Aaron's Goods.
Oh, yeah.
And we have an update about Mr. Aaron's, which is that instead of just walking in and picking up your food or getting it delivered, you can actually go in and dine there now. They have new hours. They're open Tuesday through Sunday. You can have fresh pasta, sauces, bagels, schmears, all the specialty goods. They're located at TKO in East Nashville. And they're open 9 a.m. to 2 p.m.
Weekdays. And then on the weekends, 9 a.m. to noon or until they sell out.
Yeah. That.
You can also still order online. And if you do that, you can use code Momcult for 20% off your entire order.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're the best people.
Yeah. They're amazing. Give them your money and they will give you your sustenance.
Well, okay, so I have a question about that. A lot of times Aubrey would be on the road with her mom or be at her dad's. And so, I was there with Anna. And I noticed everything I did wrong or Anna did wrong, I always think, well, that's because I did this. That's because I fed her this instead of that, or that's because I said this earlier. That's because she saw me did this, or anything. Didn't matter what it was. Mm-hmm. But I noticed my neighbors, and I loved our neighbors. They lived next door to us for a while. They had 5 kids. And I mean, I've never seen anything like it. They were completely different. But we would all, once a month, I'd go over to their house on a Saturday and watch football all day or just hang out at night or something. And they would always just order a bunch of people and stick them up in their playroom. I'm sorry, they didn't order people.
I was like,
where do they order said people?
Wow.
There's the internet.
Just put them in your playroom. Never seen anything like it.
I mean,
wow.
I could order more people to help me raise my kids.
Something.
Sorry, I'm such an idiot. No, they would order pizza and they'd stick them in their room, like their playroom, and it just policed itself,
Yeah.
A little bit like Lord of the Flies, I guess. But all that to say is they were also entirely different. And so I tried to, I'm not saying it ever worked, but compartmentalize my thinking about why, how much of, all these kids were so much different. But the fact that you have one kid or I have one kid and you have 2 kids, like that every little thing that happens, you think, well, I put the wrong coat on them when they went to school. They're going to be, I wonder if it's a different kind of pressure just when you're looking at one kid.
Yes. Yeah, I see. Well, we have the benefit and the hindrance of social media. Being a mom, which try to check out of it completely. But one thing that I see is like the annoyance of single kid families, like other people with more than one kid looking at us and being like, ugh.
Yeah.
Because we're so obsessed with each thing. And it's like, you can't do that. They,
right,
after the second one, you're like, okay, we got it. You're fine.
Well, I think there's a lot of that. And it's funny because our neighbors were like that. They would, the one that I was telling you that was an actor and his mom would look at him and say, I don't even know where you came from. You're an alien. But it was all in fun. They were always together. Whereas everything I did was, it seemed like everything was the rest of their life was hinging on this.
On those decisions.
Yeah.
What I said.
Were you always aware of, did you always have some bird's eye view of, okay, well, I know that this is I'm being a little too hard on myself, or was there some point where you go, oh, every little thing that I do is not going to break her? It's going to be a collective of things that I do that's going to break her.
Correct. Yes. Yes. I think that I told myself that over and over. It's amazing, too, I think, that when you wake up, hypothetically, a day in the life of Frank Liddell being a dad, and you protect or orchestrate every second of that day perfectly and looking back at how much wrong you did during the day. So I think there's a lot of times that I was always aware of the things I'm telling you. I just wish I would have let it go more, I wish I just let it go.
Because that's what makes you able to be present. Yeah.
I mean, they've been having kids for a long time, way before we got here, and they're more resilient than and I don't know. I feel like on the whole, like I said, the fact that we still last year we went to D.C. together as a family on vacation. We went to New England and drove across New England and hiked and hung out and saw museums and ate. And there's the four of us. And the fact that we're still can get in a car and drive 500 or 600 miles is something happened. And I'm not saying it was me either. Probably.
How is it? How is it enjoying them as adults? Because Jeremy and I think about that a lot. Of like, we're going to be able to like go do like the majority of our time with our kids is them more as adults than as children, and thinking about what that is going to look like. And I get excited about.
One thing that I did think when I was young, when we were a lot younger, all of us, that Anna and Aubrey, the kids go through phases, the terrible twos. I don't know what it was, but then they're getting into this personality and they become teenagers and all that, which, by the way, that was a little alien. But
we'll circle back to that.
Yeah, headed to that direction.
Yeah. But I did think that I want to enjoy every second of my kids' life and wherever they were. Where, in other words, I didn't want to sit around and go, "God, you were so cute when you were before you had before you lost all your teeth and had one big giant tooth. What happened to you? Why are you talking back?" I just wanted to enjoy it, and I will say that, excuse me, that the payoff today is that I enjoy them as adults now more than I ever have.
Yeah, that's what I
never stopped worrying about them.
Yeah,
yeah,
great. That's great.
Yeah, you got that to look forward to. One time, Anna she probably wouldn't appreciate me telling the story, but she was just out of control. And I think she's about 17. And I was in tears, and I called Aubrey. I said, "Can you come hang out with me at the office? I just want to talk to you." And so she came to the office, and I said, "What do I do?" And she said, "Well, you can't do anything. It'll get out of her system when she's about 23. She said that's when it got out of my system. And all I could think there is I was like, I can't do this for 7 more years, man. That was the scariest thing I ever heard. Mm-hmm. But, time did go by faster than now, seemingly. I wish it would have gone by faster then, but now it seemingly did go by a little too fast. So. Yeah.
You said you want to enjoy every part of their lives, like appreciate each one. And I felt like, I don't know if I was aware of it then, but there was like a shift around like 6 or something, because I was the baby, and I don't know if everybody got busier or what, but I could tell, I don't know, everybody, they liked me still, but I could tell I wasn't like, maybe I was getting awkward or something, whatever.
Yeah. We don't know what to do with her at this age.
Just not like a baby anymore. Right. It's like, all right, do your, do the things you need to do. Like,
we've done our job.
You're an adult now. Get a job. Not really at all. Yeah. That's not how it was. But I make that a priority too. Like letting him know when we're looking at pictures of him as a little kid, and then say, which is probably part of what his trauma will be. I always say is like me being too aware of his feelings. But
yeah,
you're awesome. You're awesome right now too.
Right, not look just at this, like, oh, remember this, and remember when you were this. Oh, we missed that.
Yeah. That.
Well, yes,
yeah. That's good. I think that's a good thing.
But I did I remember when they were this big. I thought I can't wait to hang out with them as adults, and so but I thought about that. And it's pretty neat. Like I said, the fact that they want to hang out. Maybe they just want to hang out with their mom and they need me to drive them around. I don't know. But whatever it is, it's kind of working out. I don't need to know all the whys.
Anna is adult now, but she seems to be moving in the direction of doing what you do. She studied engineering and she works with you and Eric. And what is that like to watch your kid be effectively moving in your footsteps?
Yeah, kind of that impact that you've left.
Yeah, but my dad didn't want me to be in this business because he didn't know anything about it, and I don't want them to be in this business because I know everything in the world about it. But they're both dead set on it, and And I don't know. I want them to be happy. This business can make you miserable. It can be competitive. I've decided after doing this for I think I've been doing this for 36 years. That's scary right there. So that I feel like that I despise our business, but I still love music. And I've been very lucky to spend time with musicians and songwriters, people that make things. I just am really interested in the creation of things. Somebody make a song. Somebody walks into a room and comes out with something that didn't exist. Somebody, you put a bunch of people in the studio together and you walk out with a piece of music that never exists. That's the most beautiful thing. And the people that are hardwired to do that have been my favorite people, some that I've ever known in my life. I mean, I have all my old friends, but sometimes your old friends are the people that aren't with you where you are. So I miss my old friends I grew up with, but if I moved back home and hung out, first of all, they're not going to hang out with me because they'll have jobs. But if I was back in Houston, I'd be thinking, well, all my old friends are in Nashville, so you don't weigh that the same way. But all that to say is, I have been around wonderful people. It's how I met Eric, and I think that Anna is around the same people, and you meet people who are very individualistic. They have to pour their hearts out. They have to expose themselves to the world, and they're pushing for something that they have an internal barometer that gauges their success or whatever. It really has nothing to do with other people's perception. So to see people put their heads down and work through, loneliness and trying to create something that has never been created, her being exposed to those people on a regular basis, I think is a beautiful thing,
Mm-hmm. That's awesome.
The rest of it, the business side, I don't understand it anymore. And that worries me for her, for both of them, a lot.
Yeah. Well, and hopefully, she's going to grow up with different skills, and she's probably already seen, just through your experience of knowing some of those things to navigate around, or just because she's a different generation, maybe might not have the same hang-ups on certain things that you did, because we all kind of get to learn from.
Yeah, I would hope that she would learn those things, a lot of things I did wrong, or a lot of things she doesn't have to do. But she had Eric, and Eric was so good to her, especially at a time when she didn't want to listen to me. So, and again, I sometimes when I look back at my life, I would think that most of my friends probably think I have a really interesting life, and I do. When you get in the middle of it, you don't necessarily feel the uniqueness of what we do, But I believe that. I believe that had I not done this, I wouldn't know what I would regret, but I would regret something. So I can't look at my daughters and say, you can't do this, because, this is America. We can do what we want to do, and we're taking advantage of it. And how can I do that myself and tell my kids, hey, you can't follow your dream. It's not what it's cracked up to be. So, and I do have a lot of friends that have done very well that I didn't, that probably regrets a lot of things. I mean, it's all a trade-off, but what I am saying is that as scary as it is for me to leave my kids in this business, the fact that they follow their heart means more to me, than it's just going to outweigh it all. And I can't say that I could handle it, but they're not equipped to handle it.
Right.
Well, they both are gifted in the appropriate areas at a minimum. So there you go. Well, it's going to be fine.
Yeah.
No, they're fine.
Yes. I mean, it'll be fine. I mean, the jury's still out. My dad, my brother, I've never heard my dad say this, but my brother told me this, that I have a brother and a sister, and the people ask him how his kids are, and he said, they think they're great.
You're like, I get it now.
Well, and my dad had gone to Virginia Military Institute, and once you go there, you never get out of there. And he was on the board. I mean, it was just Mr. VMI. And I was like 40, and he was like, I still wish you would have gone to VMI, you know. So I don't think that we ever stop
Wanting more, wanting the best,
or wanting to stop, you know, clear everything that's happened and let's start over and make it the correct way, you know. And I think it's just human nature. It's a survival instinct as much as anything.
Well, and it's totally based on your own experience too.
Yeah.
So it's like trying to separate that, like, just because that was your experience, everyone feels that way about their own experience.
Isn't that funny how my experience is just like, it's so special. Y'all need to hear it. You know, and everybody.
No, this is the way. What? How long did? Maybe not how long, but I would love to hear more about, because Ava's 12, so we are entering.
Oh yeah.
Into, you know, we're in preteen phase right now, entering into teen phase in the next year. What was the teenage years like, and the pushback and everything you say is stupid, Dad.
Yeah.
Let me get you some water before you do that.
Well, you know, Anna and I spent a tremendous amount of time together. And I was her dad, and then one day it's like, hey, drop me off over here. Don't touch me. Don't look at me. You're an idiot. I mean, she never called me an idiot. And I think that our relationship survived or stayed somewhat intact through it all. But you go from being the hero to the goat overnight, and there's nothing you can do, you know. And then you're And I would have thought, well, because my dad was pretty old-fashioned. He was a kind of military background, a really tough guy. And I was like, I'm just going to be a better friend to my kids. I'm going to be cooler, whatever cool means, man. And it just
didn't work.
Doesn't matter, man. It just, and I feel like it was even more embarrassing to her that that
you were trying.
Well, yeah, or that I didn't have a real job, or I was in the music business, or friends' parents wore a coat and tie, and I was just dropping her off my blue jeans and acting like I was 10 years old instead of a dad. So there was that. It was interesting for me. Again, every second of anything that happened, I thought, well, what did I do wrong here? What did I do wrong? What can I do right? What can I, why is this happening? Whose fault is it? This and that and the other. But it's just reality, I think.
Yeah. Did you spend time like processing it hurting your feelings, or did you just kind of like push it down and be like, we just got to get through this phase?
Well, and again, like I thought my father was cold, and he wasn't, but again, like when I come home and I told my dad that I got disciplined for something I didn't do, and I could kind of see a look on his face like, I'm going to have to donate a little bit extra money to the school this year. I'm getting my money's worth. Like, he was removed from that, and maybe a little too much. I think I was too immersed. Like, every second I was processing everything. Riding in the car with her, I'd say something wrong, so I'd try to say it again. Everything I would do, I was obsessed with it. That's what I was trying to say earlier, but I didn't articulate very well, that ultimately our human nature takes over. It should take over, just your instincts. I mean, you have a lot of instincts, and I wish I relied more on my instincts than over processing it if she was in a bad mood, it wasn't my problem. Just get out of the car and come home, wipe that, look off your face, kind of the way my parents would look at me. I never said that.
Right.
But I wish that I'm not saying I wish I'd have said that exact thing, but I wish I had internalized it a little bit more, less personally.
Would you try to fix it? Like her bad mood?
Yeah. I mean, when she wasn't, I dropped her off school in a bad mood. I didn't want to pick her up and go do something for her. I don't know. I mean, I tried to do everything. Everything I did was wrong, I mean, I think this is interesting. My father was reading an article one time, and he told me I should read it. And my dad was he's a methodical military guy background and a really tough man. And he said he'd read this article. He said the most important thing about having a kid and raising a kid is for their kid to know that they're loved. And for that to come out of my dad's mouth is pretty interesting. But I'm hopeful that our kids have never felt a lack of love from us, you know, and through all the mistakes. And that's one thing that I tried to, and I don't know if that was a guiding principle or if that was just a rationalization looking back, you know.
Yeah, I do. I've heard that too, that all they really, really need is to be loved. And I hear it from people that I really respect and I really love the way that they parented. I can note those specific people I've heard that from. But then when I get into the day to day and I'm so hyper aware of his emotions, and honestly, whenever you're saying that you over process things, I wanted to ask, I did 7 thoughts at once. I did that thing. But did that start when that over processing and, driving in the car and you notice in her mood is all that stuff? Did that start when she was a teenager, or were you doing that when she was little? Because I do that right now, and he's 5. I mean, I've done it since he was born.
There's a very good chance that when I was a kid, I was real little, and that my method of survival is to making sure everybody around me was happy, so I wouldn't get beat up or something like that. There's a very good chance it had nothing to do with her,
Oh, totally.
So I always worried about, what's wrong or even before she could walk.
Yeah.
I've always thought somehow in the back of my mind that I could fix her mood or Leanne's mood or Aubrey's mood. And that is just that's not based in fact.
Joy.
Sarah.
Parker started using a booster seat.
Big moves.
Yeah. And his legs sit slanted down. So I put this breakfast box with his eggs and Cheerios and stuff in it in his lap on the way to school, which is teaching him terrible habits. But I digress. It spilled on the floor. And I tried to clean it up with my at-home handheld vacuum. And I was just I was never a person before we both worked at Camel Express in marketing department. I was never a person who washed my car, and I didn't understand really the value of it. But the vacuums at Camel Express are bananas.
I mean,
and really
for car seat grossness.
Yeah.
And when you take the car seat off and move it and all the stuff underneath and inside.
Yeah.
It's pretty incredible.
At each of the vacuum bays, we have glass cleaner infused microfiber towels that you can wipe up that stuff that is underneath the seat.
Or inside the cup holder.
Right. And in about, I don't know, in 2.5 minutes you can go through the whole wash. And then in 5 minutes, because of the power of the vacuums at any of the 5 locations in and around Nashville, you can really clean your whole car to the level that I'm accustomed. I see some people there really doing it.
Oh yeah.
But
it's their thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And I get that. I support it. Good job. So if you, Momcult listener, would like to get your first wash at Camel Express for free, just text code MOMCULT to 22322 and we'll send you a free wash on us.
For the moms.
Don't tell anybody we said that.
They need a break. They need a break where they can find it.
Yeah. So the advice for people like me who are like that is worry less. Try to worry less.
I'd say try to worry less. I bet you're doing a fantastic job. And I also think that your kids know when you're stressed. They know so much, man. They just know everything. It's amazing what your children will start doing when they're in their 20s that you didn't realize they picked up from you. So you you see the things they're picking up, but the things that you don't see they're picking up those things too. And I would live more in the moment and just I wish I'd smile more. I think that a lot of my shortcomings are pretty common among men, American men. I don't think I'm that unusual, but I also wish that, like when Ann and I'll drive across the country with nowhere to go, we'll just get in the car. We do these trips where we will get in our car and we'll drive 5,000 miles. And there's some rules. But one of the rules is you can't look 2 days in advance of where you're going. So in other words, we don't plan like a route. We just go somewhere and we go, what do you want to do tomorrow? And so there's nowhere to be. Mm-hmm. And I'll get in my car to leave Nashville and I'll be driving 130 miles an hour and we got to get there. Well, we don't have anywhere to be, Mm-hmm. So I wish that I was, again, more in the moment and relax in the moment for those times. And if I'm not, though, it's not just me who's not that way, If you're I feel like it's going to be impossible for you to completely let go. But even if you feel like you're over processing things and holding on too tight, remember that forgive yourself for that. Mm-hmm. If that may. Mm-hmm. One of the things that's helpful for me, and it has nothing to do with parenting, but as I've gotten older, I've gotten lazier about working out, and I have a friend of mine who's about my age, and he works out every day, and I said, do you enjoy it? And he said, hell no. I hate it more than anything in the world. I cannot stand it. I have to make myself do it. And immediately hearing that, it made me realize, well, if I'm over here working out, because I always think if I'm at the gym, there's 900 people at the gym that are having a good time. There's me having a bad time. Right. But the reality is that if Scott Gunner's miserable when he's doing it, it's okay for me to be miserable. So when you have these thoughts come through your head, they're not, they're specific to you, but they're not. But everybody has their own similar, things that they're going through. So try to smile more and enjoy more, and they're going to be okay. And then also, if you don't smile and enjoy more, don't beat yourself up so bad. Right. I will say that I couldn't, what was sad for me a little bit is when I grew up, my parents just shoved me out the door and said, you can come home when it's dark. Mm. And if I wanted, they'd leave me some SpaghettiOs on the front porch.
Oh, I ate a lot of SpaghettiOs.
Yes. But you really can't do that anymore. But all I have to say is how resilient we were, how we'd go and ride our bike off a cliff and somebody break their arm, somebody bust their lip open, and I'm going to go home to my mom and somebody said, you're a puss, whatever. It's just like one of those things that I think our kids are so much more resilient, than we thought they were. Like if you broke your arm right now, either one of you, it would be a terrible thing. If Parker broke his arm, he's going to go to school, he's going to have a cast, it's going to grow back fast, they're going to sign his cast, and then cut it off and say, Mom, I want to keep my cast. They are so much more resilient than we know. And if you forget to feed them. If you go for a couple of days,
he might be like sad.
Yeah. But if you just if you're late picking them up, or that you put the wrong pants on, I don't know. That's just stuff just
rolls off of them.
Yes.
A little bit easier.
Yes. And when I look back at my life, the quirks of my childhood are the things that I hold on to, not the sameness amongst all my friends. So.
Yeah, same.
Feel like you missed out on anything not having a boy, or did it make sense to you that you had girls?
Well, I try not to think about that. So again,
until right now, live.
Right now, I've always thought that what was given me, that's the way it is, and I love both of our kids so much that, and to that end of it, I never think about it. Mm-hmm. But I do. I'm a third, and I'm sort of proud, and I've thought highly of all my grandparents and my father, and it would have been nice to have had a fourth, but I don't know. What
Pass
would that
down
look like? He may have hated
title.
me, I don't know.
So much he was like, no, I'm not going to be born. I'll go find a different family.
I feel like a lot of times I raised Anna like a boy at times when she could have used some female attention.
Influence.
I don't know. Yes.
I had some of that too, but like being raised a little like a boy, like I always say, I asked for some Barbie thing and they got me like a Jeep, the Barbie Jeep, and they got me like a camo.
Yeah.
Like, and I was like,
Everything hunting
I'm
themed.
not surprised.
Yeah. Like Tonka trucks instead of whatever, like little cars I wanted.
Yeah.
But I appreciate all that stuff now because I am inherently a woman.
Yeah.
And so I have those interests naturally, and then I have the understanding or at least awareness of that boy stuff. But I'll say I didn't till I had a boy. I always thought I was I'm a guy's girl. I'm, like a tomboy. don't mind getting dirty or like working hard, whatever it is. But after I had a boy, I realized how vastly different we are and have.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Boys are very different than girls.
Yeah. I think that 90% of the conversations I've had with my wife or my two daughters, I've talked to them like they were a guy, and I've just never learned that lesson. I never learned the lesson. I'm like, well, let's fix this instead of just clearing out. If I had known what I know now back then, I'd have cleared out a lot more than trying to fix them.
Yeah.
I will say this too, that I don't necessarily believe in karma. I don't know. I mean, I hope that it doesn't exist, but I went to all boys school for 5 years, boarding school for 5 years, 2 different schools. And then I went to college in Austin, and I just have always hung around guys. And I mean, I can get really stupid. I like to drink beer, hang around guys, say the dumbest, basest stuff ever, watch football, cut each other down, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I think the good Lord put an end to that one day when the good Lord not kid, 2 daughters in my life and a wife. I think that I'm paying for something.
Yeah, he immersed you.
Maybe they're paying for it. I don't know.
Well, maybe you're putting on, I guess, around me, but you've always appeared to me to be like a really well-suited girl dad.
Well, it's funny because we didn't know we were going to have a girl. We didn't know it was a boy either. But just the nature of the way I act, that everybody thought we were going to have a boy. And I even feel like Leanne said a couple times, like, I know you're going to be disappointed if it's a girl, or are you disappointed if it's a girl? And I was like, well, no, why would you be? You're sitting there and you don't have a kid, and then 30 seconds later you have a kid. You don't think that's your kid. It's not like, God, I wish it was a guy. That never went through my mind. I just for some reason, and I enjoy being around them. I mean, I feel a little bit of like a fish out of water at times when I'm with the 3 of them, but it's kind of fun.
Jeremy feels outnumbered a lot with the female energy in the house. He's like, everything I say, like, no, I just feel like nobody wants to hear what I have to say.
I feel like that too. So.
And I'm like, listen, when Ava starts,
tell Jeremy to call me.
Yeah, when Ava starts, my go-to when I want to make sure she's okay, but my go-to is like, cool, come get me if you need me. Like, you go have your space to feel whatever you want to feel, process it. Jeremy's definitely he wants to fix it.
Yeah.
Or just like, let's go do, he'll put the effort in to change the mood.
Right.
But if it doesn't change, then it starts to feel not disrespectful, but like.
And I've had a lot of those situations occur when Leanne was kind enough to say, just go away, not leave, but just back out of it. It'll be all right, And I can also tell that obviously Aubrey and her are so close. They're very close. And Anna and I are very close too. And we're so much alike. So like if we go on a trip, they may couple up and go to a museum, and Anna and I may couple up and go on a hike or something like that, which I enjoy, except, but at the same time that they are both the girls. I mean, they're all hardwired the same, and I noticed that Anna spends a lot of time with her mom, getting the correct information about life that apparently I'm not giving her. So, and I value that. I value. I value that you have two parents,
Yeah.
and I value their time together. So
Yeah, I often think, thank God. Eric seems organically a lot better at all this than I am. And I think, part of it is the boy thing, but it does seem he's just, and I'm grateful for that because I feel like I'm learning so hard all the time.
yeah, but you do have different responsibilities. And what's funny though, too, is when Anna is born, I didn't do anything. I noticed on one of those questions, what was it like, I better keep my mouth shut on that one. But all of a sudden that kid pops out and looks just like me and has blue eyes and, hey, this is fun, And so it being a parent can be competitive, and that's just human nature because you want two parents, But the competitive thing, I think, is again human nature and not nothing to beat yourself up about. But it is hard when you come home and you've just been, kissing your daughter's ass for the last 2 days. And all she wants is her mom. I'm like, hey, what's my problem?
Right. It's hard not to take it personally.
Yeah, but to take a step back. And I can also see, like, as a girl, like, has to carry around that kid for 9 months, and all of a sudden, kid pops out and
loves dad.
And Mr. Dad is cruising around, going to the store. Hey, look at my kid, I mean.
Yeah, it does seem like being the preferred parent is cool, but also like a lot of pressure.
I also don't think that we realize like what the other parent does in their role. And the kid, Parker's not sitting there having this conversation. Parker's at school, petting a goat, doing all the cool stuff. And you're his parents, the way it should be. And he knows over time, well, I'm going to get this from dad, this from mom or whatever, but it's not, he doesn't see the competition. So that's the healthy part of it, is you need to healthy parents, for the most part.
Yeah.
And
I get what you're saying. Yeah. And that's one of us being better or not. And I think I'm inherently competitive.
I thought you were going to say, I think I'm inherently better than Eric, though.
Yeah. No, I think he really is inherently better. Just, he is as a person more even keeled or whatever, and is better at staying calm and not being triggered by whatever Parker's dealing with because I'm so stressed about it. My point is, I'm comparing. I don't know that I feel always competitive, but maybe I do. But that's a good point. Yeah, that it is important to remind myself that Parker's not always. I don't want to, but okay, we have a little bit of time left with you.
That's all right.
And I thought, what about, there's 2 things we could do for this 3 minutes that we have.
We could go over a little bit.
That
he didn't think he was going to enjoy it this much.
Yeah.
He's given us, he's like, all right, I'll stay a little bit.
He's got an appointment. Let me do it again. He's got an appointment 30 minutes away. But
secret appointment.
I'm wasting our time. Shh, nobody talk. Are you after this? Yeah. Well, you can kick that appointment and we'll just keep talking. First of all, we do a segment sometimes called Pop Culture Corner, where we talk about whatever you're into pop culture wise. So if you're watching a show that you're excited to talk about, we can do that. Or off the cuff, I'm sort of putting you on the spot, but could you tell or do you have off the top of your head
favorite funny story
about a kid, or also work? It doesn't have to be about kid. We could just completely diverge from work, and then we'll ask you one more thing about kid stuff after.
Well,
whatever you want.
I do remember that when Anna was real little, I used to take her. I just would always take her place, and I'd buy her clothes and everything, and I'd go to these nice stores, and I just blew all this money on dresses and stuff that she could wear at once or twice, But I really, the illusion, I could take her on an airplane and fumble around and get 3 flight attendants to give me an extra seat and pick her up and fawn all over her, and carry her, take care of her. So, so I always liked dressing her up and if Leanne was on the road, dressing her up and taking her places. And I remember one day I got up really early, and I don't know what I was going to do, but it's a Saturday, and I went and I got her up, I bathed her, I dressed her up, and I put her in her car seat. We went to Home Depot, and I went to get her. I went to get her out of Home Depot, and she had the most intense, I guess you would say, poopy diaper ever.
We call that a blowout.
It was a blowout of epic proportions.
How old was she, did you say?
7. No, I'm joking. I don't know. Few months. I mean, no. She would have been, I don't know, 7 or 8 months. I mean, but she couldn't walk. But anyway, so I remember taking her home. I mean, I went to the back of the car to change her diaper, and it was like the blowout was such that wasn't going to happen. I remember taking her home, and I put her in the yard with a hose. And spraying out her Oshkosh, car seat, and then taking it apart and throwing it all in the washing machine with a bunch of bleach, putting her back in the bathtub to get everything else, and then drying her off and sticking her in bed with me and taking a nap. So that was that was
day in the life.
My day in the life of us. So I don't know how funny that is.
She's going to love that. Hey, tell a funny story about me, Dad.
One time.
Just her shitting everywhere.
I do. I have a million funny stories about both of them, I don't know. It's hard to recall them on command, but I do. We've laughed a lot.
Okay. We're going to let you go, but you've given us a lot of wisdom pearls, but
Gross.
Wow, that was gross. Ugh, please, that's disgusting. Do you want to leave your mark?
Yeah.
Christ.
Lift that leg and leave your mark.
Do you
Unbelievable.
do you have any, if you could say one thing to people
if you could
about
change
being a
someone's
parent?
life.
Somebody's just had a kid and they're in it. What would you say to them?
It goes by fast. And it goes by really, really, really fast. And I mean, it's just it just stay in the moment. Stay in the moment and enjoy it, and enjoy the good and the bad. And when it gets to be really bad, just, but just stay in the moment and enjoy it. They come back and it will all be okay. I think, again, kids are resilient. And I don't regret maybe I should have disciplined our kids more, but I was there for a lot that they did, most of what they did. I regret mostly not being present. And I would always just tell everybody, it goes by really fast. Be in the moment, take the good and the bad, and remember that every other parent's going through the same thing. And I will, I've always lived by this motto. I was a distance runner, and my father was too. And he always said that the race doesn't always go to the swiftest, and I think it comes from somewhere in the Old Testament. But it's interesting when your kid is 6 months old. And then you have a friend who has a 6 months old kid, and they say, my kids walked around the block yesterday. He went and picked up the groceries or whatever, And I mean, my kid is the smartest student in the history, and all those things. You look at Albert Einstein, who didn't do well in school. I mean, it just have the patience to let your child be who your child is. It all comes out in the wash, and the race doesn't always go to the swiftest. And, I've known people that have just excelled at everything they've ever done, and then they're 45 years old and they're a successful corporate lawyer, and they look hollow. I mean, they act hollow. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that either. I'm just saying that just because you're on a fast track, or just because you're slower in some areas than other people, or you're a great athlete or not a good athlete, or a great musician, or vice versa, or anything, it all, we all one day become adults. And nobody cares about all that stuff anymore. And sometimes those pressures we put on their kids are for us, not for our kids. So, just to allow them to push them, but allow them to be them. And hopefully it all works out.
Jury's still out on yours.
Yeah, well,
No.
yeah.
I think it's worked out. They're fine.
They're fine.
No, they're
That
fine.
is always a work in progress. That's for sure.
Parker's a big fan. We're all big fans. Yeah.
I am now. I wasn't sure I felt coming into it, but
Yeah.
I think it was okay.
Well,
I'm in of Anna.
Oh, I was talking about Frank.
Okay.
I love Anna. Thank you so much, Frank.
you.
This was great. I feel like we could talk for so long.
I
Yeah.
know. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. Y'all are funny.
Thanks. Thanks. Thank you. You can check out what Frank is doing at Carnival Music. Is it Carnival Music Co.? Do you know your social tag?
I don't know. I have no idea.
At Carnival Music on Instagram or carnivalmusic.com?
.net.
.net?
I do know that.
I should know that.
Because it's in my email address, so I have to remember that one.
Yeah. You can follow us at Momcult Podcast and listen at themomcult.com or wherever you get your podcast. And that's all I say.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Sounded good to me.
Awesome. It's been an honor. Or I was probably not supposed to say the last
We don't care.
Well, no,
there's
please.
we don't. We just say
Please
that
say
at
the last
end.
thing.
We're
We're tired of hearing our voices.
Thank you, Frank. Really, thank you. For
But
your
you were
time.
saying what? How much fun you had? What?
I had an absolute blast.
Thanks.
And I think that that Eric should take some notes so it can be this much fun when we're working in the studio. together.
Let's get out. Get it out. So, okay, Frank, thank you. I'll see you later.
Thank
Bye, everybody.
you.
Bye.